Warning: the Lobo Show contains adult content, crude humor that may go against your religion, ethics, and morals. A perspective point of view you may not find your own. Viewer discretion is advised. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Good Fridays, ladies and gentlemen. 2018. This is the Lobo Show with me, your host, Lobo. And with me, as always, my producer, Heapsack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're back. Hopefully, if anybody's still listening to this, we are back from our short, brief stint of hiatus. And obviously, we all know what happened. If you're all a fan of the Lobo Show here in the past, uh, you say a couple of things and then people get angry. And then a lot of things happen and it's like a crumbling effect, the old domino effect, if you will. You know what I mean? But things are better here at the Lobo Show. We got better staff now, me and Heap Stack, right? We got better management, therefore better equipment here at the Lobo Studio. And hopefully get used to more of consistent programming here at the Lobo Show and more episodes. And like I said, I can't stress this enough, at the Lobo Show on Twitter. And we will, later on, we'll tell you about all the different ways you're going to be able to hear us, not necessarily on this platform, but many others. And hopefully you are here listening on different platforms. But the Lobo Show, daily topical podcast, And I think that in the last, was that 3-4 months there, Sack, where we were just burning fucking dollar bills on the beach?
So, sir.
Yeah.
Moving on up.
Right? They paid us to do quiet, so whatever. We had to go that route there. But after burning these dollar bills there on the side of the beach, drinking a lot of pina coladas, and they finally let us allowed to speak, we missed a lot. I think that we missed a lot. There was a lot of things that happened, obviously. Trump signs his $700 $700 billion to the military and shit. You know what I mean? He's doing a fucking lot of spending. Yeah, he's talking about what he's got to fucking do. He's trying to uphold what he's fucking was voted for, right? But a lot of people got pissed off for that. But more importantly, you know what I mean? More importantly, what's really going on is this whole the gun laws, right? Obviously, Lobo Show, if you guys listen to the fucking past 70 podcasts that we did in the past, we've been touched up on these subjects, And it felt like that there were so many times when we did the news on the Lobo Show, it felt like that, it was like a school shooting every week. And we were like, man, I was like, dude, enough. It feels like we kept saying the same things, right? But since we're back, I'm going to say this, right? Because now, obviously, what happened in Florida, a lot of kids, died and, shooter or whatever. And now there's a lot of changes that, a lot of gun reform that they want to change, right? These kids, right? They're calling out the NRA. They want these young kids want the, people to be held accountable for it. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, though, for now, I feel like what we missed and shit, it's like we have former Supreme Justice, Paul Stevens. He wrote in the op-ed in New York Times using urging people to repeal the Second Amendment and shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to think about this, I hope people really think. Not speaking as an American here, it's like we're living in this world now, once again, you know what I mean? That people are like, they're trying to take, the guns away from Americans. And they're saying because some kid that shoots up a school, you know what I mean? Let's not blame bad parenting. Let's not blame flawed securities or flawed police officers and all that shit. Let's not, what we're going to do? Let's just take the guns away from everybody and shit. I don't know. To me, and then when they're talking about, repealing the Bill of Rights and shit, something that's never been done, it just seems like, I don't know. It seems very non-American, very non-American. And, so it's weird. That's never going to happen. Obviously, I really don't think, it is. Those kids are really pushing for it. Um, Protest, there's like a lot of protests that have been out that they did recently. This is kid, you know what I mean? The David Hogg and shit. He's over here. He's coming up a bit on the radar, if you will, you know. And he's saying a lot about like gun rights and how a lot of people shouldn't should have own guns in the first place. But listen, when it comes down to it, it has a lot to do. I feel like the background checks, man. When it comes like enough with the non fucking background checks, enough with the fucking we have to, in some sense, right? When we this is goes to anything in a way. I think that we have to really get in depth of who the hell people are, and in some way, some people might feel like, oh, it's profiling in some way, like, well, this is like racial profiling. When I walk into a gun store or I go to any of these places, it has to be that. It's not racial profiling, but it has to be some kind of hardcore fucking profiling where you're like, I'm just saying that. Listen, if you're fucking like crazy or some shit, man, if you got like that, I guess you have to pull out medical records and shit. I guess to buy a fucking gun. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying what these kids are crying for. It's like, listen, man, shit happens in in the neighborhoods of fucking Chicago, streets in New York all the fucking time. And I'm not saying that's not a fucking tragedy of some kids shooting up a fucking school here. Don't get me wrong, But you know what I'm talking about, Zach? It's like
Yeah.
I don't think the big answer is taking people guns away.
No,
And,
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you look at history, that's a big no-no. You shouldn't do that, but people don't want to look at it. They live in the now.
yeah, they live in the now, man. And like I said, dude, and here's another thing that I want to talk about. I know I'm all over the place. We're back here. This is the Lobo show, man. People are pissed off about fucking losing their guns, and there's a lot of fucking blue states. Like I said, blue states, red states, right? There's a lot of blue states going, I never owned a gun. I don't give a shit. And it's funny because there are people who are like outraged in Twitter. They're like, they never owned a gun before, and they're like, they're trying to take our guns away. Like, dude, you never owned the fucking gun. What are you talking about? You're like, yeah, but still, I ever decided to buy a gun. It's like, let's make it clear. They're just trying to ban assault rifles, and they're just trying to get assault rifles out of idiots. But then again, like the liberals goes too far when it comes down to this shit. Now, here's the problem with the whole Trump bill, right? Now, obviously, fucking Trump signs this $1 trillion bill, right? One of the biggest fucking bills of all times, right? And mostly goes to the military. So it's one of those things where he goes, well, high five. I kind of did a good thing because all this money is going to go to the military, and this is something that I promised, and I've kind of been big on, and this is one of the reasons I got voted on. This is Trump speaking, right? So, but he wasn't happy with it because the bill entails a lot of other things. A lot, like giving a shitload of money to like Planned Parenthood, and a lot of conservatives that voted for Trump, they didn't think that was they're very pissed off about that. In fact, there's a lot of people screaming that they won't vote for Trump anymore because of this bill that he signed. Trump saying it's a temporary thing. He's like, oh, I won't sign it, but it's going to work out in the end. And a lot of people quote like the book he did, The Art of the Deal. He's always cooking up, scheming, working on something, whatever, right? I can't, time will tell if the guy fucking dropped the ball or not, right? But what it also does is like they banned a lot of these the things for the guns. Like they're making it where like the bomb stocks and shit, they're fucking banned, and you have to be a certain age to buy some rifles in Florida, and people are just pissed off about that. But it's like when it comes down to these guns, right? I feel like, listen, I get it, right? You should own it. That's not a problem. And especially, if you like hunt and all of that, but there's a lot of fucking like people in these liberal states, in these blue states who live in the city, I think the only reason for the guns probably for the home protection. And they're like, everybody should give up their gun and all that shit. They just don't really understand what that truly entails. Or like, ultimately trying to ban rifles in general. It's just it doesn't make any fucking sense. You know what I mean? There are people in this country, United States of America, that, believe it or not, you know what I mean, hunt and feed their family with that shit, with the use of their weapons and everything. But you get a bunch of people. You get some people that are just some deranged, motherfucker with the gun and shit. Spoils it for spoils it for everybody, I guess. Zach.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, here's another thing too. Lobo show, man, and I wanted to kind of fucking I'm a little rusty here, so bear with me, right? I wanted to talk about one thing too, like the whole this bill that Trump signed, right? This guy, it's kind of like creative. I think like I don't think nobody really seen any like like kind of read between the lines in this whole thing. But I feel like that now that what he kind of did in this deal is like that they gave no money to they gave no mention to DACA, right? The liberals, because it was a bipartisanship bill. They was like, all right, we want some things, and the Republicans got some things, and you kind of like sign off on it because like we agree with it. And as the president, you just sign off because we agree to this. Like, why wouldn't you? But obviously, it was like whatever, right? So this guy signs the thing, and to me, and he was like, he goes later. Trump says like, I'll never sign anything like that, and like I said, money to abortion, things that money to like one of these Kennedy funds and shit. That's fucking bullshit too. But another thing it's like to me, I think what really got me, like I said though, in terms of like I said, I kind of you can kind of get disgusted by the liberals by this, right? They talk about like when Trump was like, I'm going to build a wall and all that shit, right? And the liberals were like, fucking bullshit, you'll never do that, not on our watch. Like, that's so inhumane. I mean, like, that's so like blah, 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 and this and that. They won't do it, and they won't do anything about it, right? They were like fucking really big on how the fuck they're not going to do anything about it. Like, we're not going to like sign off on a wall. We'll never sign off for a wall on this, right? But they technically, to me, right? This fucking 700 billion, like all this money that he got, a lot of this money is going into border security and shit. You know what I mean? Now, technically, they're saying he goes, oh, it's not for the. I mean, it's not for the wall. That's what the liberals saying. It's for complete border security. You know what I mean? But Trump says otherwise. He's saying otherwise and shit. You know what I mean? But let me get this right here, dude. Now, this bill includes significant spending for military, the largest military budget in history, $700 billion that includes overseas spending for the war that we're currently in. It includes a 3% pay rate for the military, and like I said, though, $1 trillion and shit. Despite he signed it, and despite he said that he wouldn't. So the thing is, though, is like, the liberals were talking about DACA, DACA, this whole thing with the immigration and shit, and how they wanted to look out for them, and how there's like, well, we're not going to do anything without the DACA and the dreamers, and all the shit about the dreamers, and then when it comes down to it, the Democrats ignored the DACA and this bill. There was nothing for them in there, and in fact, what they did is help, they kind of signed off on the wall. Now, people might go, hey, technically, listen, Lobos, if you kind of read in between the lines, they didn't get money for the wall, but it's bullshit. Trump is contradicting that. What he's saying, and I'm just speaking from the top here, he's saying that technically it goes to the increased border fucking funding, but he's saying it's going to go towards the wall as well. But he's even increased border funding is a kind of a big step up of what they're doing in terms of the immigration and what ICE is doing. Now, a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people are pissed off. A lot of conservatives saying, "Oh, he caved on the border funding." He's saying we wanted the wall, and he kind of there's nothing on the mention on the wall, what contradicts like what there has nothing in DACA. It's what you're saying that that. But I just feel like even to the border security and to the military is more than what he's doing. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, what the Democrats did is just a little disgusting and shit when it comes down to it, man. Like where they go, they're taking $500 million for Planned Parenthood. And who runs that is the Democrats, you know what I mean? And they're fucking bullshit. Nothing for the dreamers though. Nothing for their nothing for the DACA. Nothing for the immigration and shit. And I'm not saying, oh, dude, I'm not complaining about that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, but it's just to them, like that was their moral code, what they stood by. And it seems like to me, Trump took a lot of money, put it to the military, and who knows if we're going to need it or not. But it seems like they caved in for money. What it was is that they got money for their, public funding and all that bullshit. That's pretty much what they got, and they didn't do anything for the DACA. So. Anything for the dreamers, if you will. And if I was them, I'd be pretty disappointed. I'd be pretty disappointed at my people that are supposedly representing me. You got another Democrat Congresswoman, Maxine Waters, who came out recently, who was trying to entice a crowd, saying that she was going to repeal reparations. She wanted like reparations for African Americans, saying that, oh, it's going to happen. We just got to get Trump out of there and we're going to get this done. Like, come on, man, get the fuck out of here. I'm not saying that who deserves nothing. That's not the point that I'm trying to make, though, here, right? But it's just like these liberals are just saying anything and they promise anything. It's just like, and I'm not saying they shouldn't fight for it, whatever the fuck, right? It's whatever the fuck to me. That's out of my fucking pay scale, getting into that. But it's just that though, that whole thing, like, oh, we are gonna do this, and you got these people believing in them, and you got a lot of people that believes in their bullshit. They'll say anything against this guy. You know what I mean? When they got a dickload of money for him. And then they, like I said, they do nothing for the people they said they were gonna try to protect when it comes down to it. You know,
It's
fucking
crazy.
hypocrisy, man. It's fucking hypocrisy. So Lobo's show here is back. Me and Heathsack is back in the grind and shit. Excuses today. We're a little fucking, I don't know. It's Good Friday 2018. We're a little I think we're a little rusty, but I think we're gonna sound great. We're gonna do really fucking cool shit here. We're not gonna fucking beat around the bush. And we had some problems here with the old YouTube, if you will, and the other platforms. And we're gonna have different platforms this time around. And if anybody's truly listened to this, we're not gonna like just go away. And hopefully like, you're gonna just follow us at Twitter. That's like a big thing here, because worst case scenario, when they shoot us, they follow us at Twitter. We try to put a channel up and they shot down our videos, and there are people that comment and are cool, like, hey, Lobos, what's going on? And it's just like sometimes you won't hear anything for months, and it's just like, if you just follow us at Twitter, or you just we'll fill you into details of every other platform we will be in here. We don't want to say too much because we don't know what to say. We don't know if they're going to try to ban us for saying the wrong thing. We kind of don't know what's like the good thing and the bad thing. But here's the thing: the Lobo show, we'll always do our show. We're just trying to put the show on the YouTube here. You know what I mean? Lobo show will always do their thing here and say what the hell we want to say and do what we want when we want. Only people that can stop us is the guy upstairs, the bosses upstairs. I mean. But speaking of the guys upstairs, right? Let me just say one thing. It's a Good Friday here, and I don't want to be banned here in the first show, right? So the Pope, right? So the Pope comes out, and the Pope's, like I said, and it's not me trying to bash things or anything like that. I'm a Catholic here. Everybody knows that here about Lobo, He stacks the Jew, I'm the Catholic, right? But I'm not on some, I'm completely going by the book and everything. I understand there's some flaws. You know what I mean? I'm just a person of faith. Let's just go that way, right? But now the Pope, he's going around and he's telling people now he's saying that the hell doesn't exist. That apparently when the whole hell thing, he's like, forget about what you heard. Forget about that whole hell thing. That doesn't happen like that anymore. You know what happens is like now you just disappear. Like people go to heaven, and the people that don't go to heaven, just disappears. And obviously, there are a lot of Catholics in the uproar. A lot of people are pissed off about that. I say, hey, look. I say like everybody should have their opinion about him, about the Pope. I feel like, if somebody says, hey, this guy's wrong for saying that, or there's other people that, would say like there's other like people of faith or in terms like priests and all that. Like, I can't believe he said that. I'm kind of like, I don't know where he's going. And the Pope is going to be truly that person who castrate people like, oh, if you don't believe me, or if you don't believe this, and if you don't believe in global warming and no, there's other bullshit. It's kind of like, I don't know, man. This guy is just like this new age Pope. You know what I mean? And like I said, I guess today is not the day for me to really go into that. You know what I mean? And that, but I kind of like just disagree with a lot of the shit that guy is doing. And I've never been a big fan of any of the popes anyway, or him. You know what I mean? Or any of the popes, because dude, I feel like all that old secret shit. What kind of society are we living in, dude? You know what I mean? What kind of
Right.
society we living in, dude? That when it still like, oh well, yeah, this is a place over there, and these with these books, and you know what I mean. You can't, and you have to go there by special invitation, and you can't go there just pick up any book when you want. You have to be specific and all that other shit. You know, it's like, come on, what's with that?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, old tradition.
The old tradition, if you will, right? Yeah, the old tradition, exactly. Back when they fucking stoned people to death and shit. Like it was like, oh, it was okay to do certain things, but it wasn't okay to do others.
Yeah.
Right there, Sack.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
So,
sir.
man, so like I said, man, Lobo show is back. We're fucking all over the place, but we're back, man. We're gonna get back in the consistent schedule. See us on our channel. By the time you'll hear this, our channel will be established by now because I'm not sold on what we have for now. And man, I just fucking I feel like I feel like I want to rage, man. But the words are not coming out for now. But don't worry, people.
It's Good Friday.
It's
You
Good Friday.
gotta.
I guess that's what it is. It's like that aura of the Good Friday. I guess that's what it is. Well, how do you as a Jew feel on a Good Friday?
Well, I feel positive about it. I think it's a good message.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Friday before Easter. So, yeah.
Right. We're supposed to be good to each other. I remember when I was a kid, you can't spit in the ground, man, or curse and all that shit. It was like, oh shit, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the Jewish friends is like blah blah. What's the matter? I don't get it. But then when Christmas comes around, they don't get it. So it's like whatever. Salu though. So Sack, like I said, we're fucking back. They're tired of us just burning $100 of bills and fucking sitting around and shit. So I guess it's back to work here, man, for the spring. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So I say that without any further ado, if you will, maybe we can go back we do some little news here tonight.
Of
What do you think?
course.
All right, man. Let's do it here, ladies and gentlemen. Without any further ado, the nightly news with Heapsack.
WINS HD, WWFS HD3, New York. All news, all the time. This is. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday, March 30th, 2018. It is 50 degrees in New York City, and this is the nightly news with the Sack. Widow of Pulse nightclub gunman who killed 49, acquitted by the Associated Press. The widow of the gunman who killed 49 people at a gay Orlando nightclub was acquitted Friday on charges of lying to the FBI and helping her husband in the 2016 attack. Noor Salman, 31 years old, began sobbing with joy when she found that she was not guilty of charges of obstruction and providing material support to a terrorist organization. Salman was married to Omar Mateen when he attacked the Pulse nightclub. Police killed him after the massacre. Prosecutors said Salman and her husband scouted out potential targets together, including Disney World's shopping and entertainment complex, and she knew he was buying ammunition for his AR-15 in preparation for a jihad attack. She knew that he had a sick fascination with violent jihadi videos and was affiliated with Islamic State group websites that gave him a green light to commit terrorism, prosecutors said. The defense attorneys described Salman as an easily manipulated woman with a low IQ. They said Salman, who was born in California to Palestinian parents, was abused by her husband, who cheated on her with other women and concealed much of his life from her. Attorney Charles Swift argued there was no way Salman knew that Mateen would attack the Pulse nightclub because even he didn't know he would until it. Liar, whore, you know it. Until the moments before the shooting. His intended target was the Disney Springs complex, prosecutors said. It's a horrible, random, senseless killing by a monster, Swift said during closing arguments, but it wasn't pre-planned. The importance to this case is that if he didn't know, she couldn't know. Solomon's statement to the FBI in hours after the attack appeared to play a key role in the case. In the statement, Solomon said over the last 2 years, Omar talked to her about jihad. She claimed her husband didn't use the internet in their home, but he did, prosecutors said. She told investigators that Mateen had deactivated his Facebook account in 2013, but they found that he had an account up until the months of the shooting and was friends with his wife on Facebook. She said her husband only had one gun when he had three, and that he wasn't radicalized, but obviously he was.
Well, it goes down to this though, man. Like, is that I this happened in the same thing in Boston, if you will. Now, I'm hearing myself. Are you okay? Yeah.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah.
all right. So I'm like this happened in Boston with the Boston bomber and his wife. Apparently, this guy was like literally making bombs in front of her, whatever the hell. And basically, when he got caught and everything, they found out after all the investigation. And she was like, she seen the guy do it, but she had nothing to do with it. She didn't know what he was doing, and it was almost like the same thing with this person, with this lady. It's like apparently it's like this Muslim, like with the Sharia law, if you will, that the woman is just completely obedient to the husband, if you will. And technically, there was like they just do whatever they say. So it's almost like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? I don't know, like if you know too much about that, but it's like I think that's
No,
fucking
you're right.
yeah, yeah. I think that's bullshit. You know, and here's the thing. They said like what the Boston bomber literally right. She had a baby. There was like they were making bombs in front of him, right? She's legit not in jail right now, legit, right? And like suppose like well she was there, but she had nothing to do with it. And as a wife, you know, people that go, Walkie, well, you could have called the cops, you could have called the police, you could have did something about that. Well, it's like one of those things, like you know, in Muslim law or whatever, like, you just that's like when you're the wife of a Muslim man, you obey the Muslim man no matter what. Now I don't care what these liberals will tell you and how Americanized a lot of Muslim people are, believe it or not, because they are. And I'm not speaking on behalf of all Muslims, but when you're in this situation of these crazed lunatics, these you know people are trying to go that extra mile to make themselves known or to create terror, then I absolutely yes. Then I say that you know they should be held accountable. But dude, there are people like their wives are you know won't say anything and they would participate if they have to or die for the cause if they have to if that's called upon, you know. And saying Sack, you know a little bit about this stuff. Am I wrong on this?
No, no, you're right. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the way it goes. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to speak for them, but yeah, that's, ultimately, like it's still heavy in tradition in that way where the man controls
Right.
the majority, yeah.
So this is the part that I'm trying to say. Like, I think that it comes down to there has to be laws about that now, and it's kind of like I'm not saying that the laws here in America don't apply to Muslim women, but it's weird that somehow there's like loopholes in this law where it's fair. It's kind of fair in a way. Now you can say unfair, like, well, that's bullshit, but it is kind of fair. We don't stone somebody to death. We don't stone a lady like, all right, this is the wife of the guy, and obviously she had to know, or she had to play some part. She obviously lied, like you said with the Facebook thing. But it's like, okay, we're not. But as you can see, as Americans, we're not quick to hang that person. We're not quick to like, all right, well, let's fucking, let's still hang her. Let's put her in jail. But it's like, all right, we're trying to figure this out. But when it comes down to it, these are the things where the law has to be changed. And I'm not saying these change the gun laws. Then, like, come on, be quiet, Like, come on, guy, take it easy with all that shit. But it is true though, man. There's loopholes, and to the Boston, like I said, there's the wife with the Boston bombers, and a lot of these terrorists, like they said, there's women involved too. When we talk about terrorism, it's not just men. There's women terrorists, and when it comes down to when they get caught, they're like, I didn't do shit. You know what I mean? I didn't do anything. Just like anybody else when they get caught. Then they're like, oh yeah, I did it. Well, some of them will. They're like, I did it, man. Jihad, motherfucker. I totally did this shit. I claim full responsibility, man. I wanted to blow that fucking motherfucker up. Oh God, this Lobo. I wonder how long this Lobo is gonna last on YouTube. Like I'd say about 15 hours and we're done. Or you're gonna like, no. Like now he's doing voices. Come on, let's move on.
In other news, Expelling diplomats, a furious Kremlin escalates a crisis by the New York Times. Russia on Thursday escalated a confrontation with Europe and the United States over the poisoning of a former Russian spy in Britain, saying it would expel 60 American diplomats and an unspecified number of envoys from other countries to retaliate for a mass expulsion of Russian diplomats working in the West and beyond that was ordered this week. Furious at what it described as an anti-Russian campaign orchestrated by Washington and London, the Kremlin exceeded a response to the United States and ordered the closing of the American consul in St. Petersburg, second largest city. The consul is bigger and far more important to relations than the Russian consul in Seattle, which the Trump administration ordered closed on Monday as the part of the expulsion. The crisis over the March 4th poisoning of a former Russian double agent and his daughter has driven tensions between the Kremlin and the West to their highest pitch in decades and forced European countries like Germany, that are usually not swayed to clash, to pick sides. Britain contends that the poison used was a signature Russian nerve agent created by the Soviet-era scientists. Voicing alarm that the East and West confrontation was spinning out of control, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, said that the crisis recalled the Cold War, only without the controls and channels of communication established before the 1991 collapse of the Soviet Union, to make sure things would not get out of control when tensions rise. Following his practice of avoiding public criticism of Russia, Mr. Trump made no mention of the expulsion during a speech on Thursday afternoon in Ohio. Hours later, the White House issued a muted response, calling the Kremlin actions a further deterioration in United States and Russian relationship. The expulsion of undeclared Russian intelligence officers by the United States and more than 24 partner nations and NATO allies earlier this week was an appropriate response to the Russian attack on the soil of the United Kingdom. The White House said in a statement, Russia's response was not anticipated, and the United States will deal with it.
Yeah, fucking Vladimir Putin. Here's the thing. He said in he just got reelected, right? 75%, by the way, in their fucking democracy there in Russia. And that's like a joke, because we all know what the fuck that is. Because apparently, like, a lot of their voting too, it was like, hey, don't worry if you guys can't vote, just tell me. Like, there's a guy who would walk around the neighborhoods. He's like, oh, just tell me if you guys can't vote, if you guys can't make it to the polls, just tell me who you're gonna vote for. I'm gonna write it down and we'll send it to the ballots and shit. You know what I mean? A lot of voting was going on like that in Russia. A lot of shit goes like that in Russia all the time. Believe it or not, people do your research. I mean, it does, right?
Very shady.
It is, right? And I'm not, I'm just calling how it is, right? Vlad Putin, right? He so on his victory speech, he said makes this very weird, and like people like look it up. He goes, he's like, oh yeah, Russia is number one, we are number one, and he goes in his speech, he goes, may our enemies be poisoned, right? And he said that, and it's weird. Like, and then people picked up on that, like, oh, that's pretty weird that he kind of said that. Let our enemies be poisoned. And the next thing you know, these English diplomats, when it comes down to it, they were English diplomats where they were poisoned, but apparently they were like spies. You know what I mean? It's like one of that spy thing, but that still doesn't make it right, because the way they were killed, it's like it's weird, right? It's like car bombings are okay. You know what I mean? Some kind of public assassination. But when you fucking poison, and we all know, like, they're I'm being sarcastic here. But when you poison and shit, like, that's the fucking problem. And but that definitely has the Kremlin written all over it. That kind of hit, and that's kind of really bad. Now the thing with Putin, he can, like, obviously he was like, he can be like, oh shit, what the fuck, and we'll get to the bottom of this or something. But he's completely offended, like, hey, we had nothing to do with this. This is like not even like, not only that, like, this is some kind of United States and UK trying to spread some kind of fake propaganda. Well, we all know that it's their it's their signature style written all over it. Apparently, investigation was done on both sides in terms of the UK and the United States. So I guess we have to go with that. And this is not good in a way in terms of that relations. There's no way you can, okay, like, all right, we have to expel diplomats, but let's talk about relations now after that. Like, no. The only time they're going to talk about relations ever again is we have to start off by bringing the diplomats back in and everybody's being babies about it, but whatever. I guess, America kind of had to show that we're still on the sides of England in some sense because England, it's so funny. Like, they don't need us. They don't need us. But when this happened, they're crying to see what we have to do next. You know what I mean? Like, oh, what's your next move? What's your next move? And Trump did the right thing. Like, okay, he did something, and he said, okay, fuck them. Like, what else more do you want? I don't think you can bash the guy after this one in terms of this whole Russia thing, where he literally expelled the diplomats in the United States as they did everywhere other place. And then Angela Merkel, here's the thing, though. Pick a fucking side. Stop being a fucking twat. Let's move on.
In other news, Punish a Muslim Day. Flyers have Arab WXYZ News. The Arab American community is on high alert because of a hateful flyer that is circulating. The flyer promotes April 3rd Muslims with a escalating point system, the more outrageous the act. The flyers originated in London, England. They were left on the steps of several mosques there. The message is now being spread to the U.S. by way of social media and raising concerns. The National Police Chiefs Association issued a statement on March 29th, assuring the public that the threats were being taken very seriously and the measures were underway to protect potential victims from harm and bring any offenders to justice. Officials declined to publicize any details of the investigation as to not jeopardize its success or increase the risk of violence. Reports of the flyers were mailed to specific addresses around the UK. Without naming the addresses, they first surfaced on March 9th, 2018. And the point system in the letter serves as this: 10 points for verbally abusing a Muslim, 25 points for pulling the headscarf off of a Muslim woman, 50 points for throwing acid in the face of a Muslim, 100 points for beating up a Muslim, 250 points for torturing a Muslim with electronics, skinning, or using a rack, 500 points for butchering a Muslim using a gun, knife, vehicle, or otherwise, 1,000 points for bomb or burning a mosque, and 2,500 points for nuking Mecca.
2,500 points? Only 2,500 points?
That's their highest one. Somebody to nuke Mecca.
I wonder where you supposed to go to redeem these points.
That's very true. You got a very valid point there. I know, right? Where do you go? I suppose you have to videotape it, right? And then, but what do you do with that?
That's horrendous. Yeah. That's fucking horrendous. And let me tell you this, man. I want to say this. First of all, that's so like that's dumb. And I'm gonna tell you this, right? I bet you there's a lot of Muslims out there. There's a lot of Muslims, and this is in London in the UK, where they're like, oh yeah, I wish they fucking would. I wish they fucking would do that shit. Like, come on, come fucking try it. And if you guys want to really go about it, we'll be like, you guys are ready, we'll be fucking ready. But hold on, let's not try to break a race war. And I'm not saying who's right and wrong here. You know what I mean? Because I bet you there's a lot of people in England that are completely appalled by that, and rightfully so. But I want to say this because it brings to my attention that there's like I said, listen, not for nothing. To be honest, I know a lot of people from England, and I'm telling this right now, and this is true. They're proud of it. A lot of people from England that I know, it's a very racist country. I'm talking about the English, like straight up white English and shit. They don't like, come on, they say packy and shit. Packy is like, to them, that's like the N word. Like for us, it's nothing, like we didn't even, what even that even means. But they've always been warring with the Pakistanis out there, the Muslims, whatever. And it's so funny that they gave us shit. Like I remember getting into with that fucking Scott Harrison, right? And he goes, "Oh yeah, these Americans are saying like how we're fucking dumb or whatever the fuck, right? You know, there's a lot of these English people. They always saying how these American people are stupid and like how we're racist and all that shit. But like they are the biggest racists of all time. You know what I mean? Like, wait, excuse me, not saying the all time, right? But they do shun their nose on us a lot. They look down to us a lot, saying the Americans are fucking racist and backwards. When I'm telling you right now, they are completely racist. A lot of their like they literally had to send somebody. like they put laws now. And don't get me wrong, like England is very liberal and shit. It's very liberal, which like a lot of shit that I don't with the laws that I don't agree with. And it like they're like I don't know how the freedom of speech it is for them, and you know what I mean. And the people, oh, blah blah blah. I don't know their laws like that 100%, but I did hear that like they're fucking arresting people. Some guy went to fucking. He did some time for saying some shit, like saying a racial profanity at somebody. Like he did some time for that and shit. And this has happened in England. And I'm just saying though, it's that bad out there when they're fucking enforcing the law because that shit happens. Like they've always been been very tensional out there in terms of the racial tension. England always felt like they were betrayed by their politicians, if you will, by letting a lot of foreigners come into their country, because we all know England, blah blah blah, pure blood, and all that shit that they talk about. But come on though, for these guys to do this, I don't know. It just seems like they there's a lot of big kind of tension over there, and I'm just saying though, America sometimes get a lot of shit by those guys for the shit that we do. I'm telling you, not for nothing, they're always shitting on, oh, Trump's an idiot, look at them, look at their president, look at America, the school shootings and all that shit. And don't get me wrong, this shit is fucking horrible, you know what I mean? Get the fuck out of here, it's fucking, and these guys are fucking racist as pieces of shit. What are you gonna do? Let's fucking move on.
And finally, 148 years ago today, African American men were granted the right to vote. The U.S. Constitution's 15th Amendment was adopted, formally granting all adult black men, regardless of previous condition of servitude, the right to vote. By the late 1870s, Southern states will nevertheless take various steps to disenfranchise black voters. It would take another 50 years for American women of any race to win. So yeah.
Well, you know what? Like I said, I don't know what took them so fucking long and shit. When it comes down
Almost
to that,
150 years. Yeah, like
150 years after people voted,
Almost.
150 years, and it was the same fucking bullshit when it comes down to it, man. It's like, we like how it is now. Yeah, it's okay for you to vote unless unless you're voting for the guy we want you to and shit. You know what I mean?
Ain't that always the way, Lobo?
That's always the damn way. It's like fuck, And you said how long after the women? How many years the women did it?
Yeah, it took over 50.
So over 50 years after that, the women's like they want to vote now and shit, right? And it worked out well ever since, people. Right? I mean, it is what it is, bro. It's fucking. I don't know. It's. Here's the thing. People weren't allowed to vote. There was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I guess now it's like, oh, that's a big thing, but you gotta understand a lot of the law of the land, man. Back in those days, where people were just surviving, if you will.
It was law of the jungle.
Sure, man. Yeah. In some way, people were still trying to figure out the country, knocking down trees down and shit, fighting off grizzly bears and shit in here in this country, man. And
you still had American
absolutely
number.
Yeah, men are fighting for this country and dying for this country together, though, for years. It's so funny. Like, I get it, right? They had these stupid fucking laws, and they had these segregations and shit, and mostly in the South. Like I said, I'm proud to be from New York. Because every time I love, I'm a history guy. I'm a history buff, if you will, and I always hear about those days, in the 1800s and shit, during the slavery, and all that, 1700s, whatever. And it was like, I'm proud to know that New York was always legit a free state. Like, they didn't do that slavery shit. That shit wasn't over here. You know what I mean? It was always like people escaped to go over, to New York. And I'm proud of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that being said, though, I know there was some like they had the laws and shit. You couldn't marry interracially, and he had a lot of segregation. But what I do have to say is that, come on, though, if people don't think that men of all different colors didn't build this country together, they're out of their fucking minds. That's to everything, even to the wild, wild west. Chinamen building the railroads, and blacks and whites, and even, like I said, Mexicans too, of all colors, and Indians, indigenous people, if you will. You know what I mean? But of all people, just of all races, colors, and fucking creed, man, when it comes down to it, all that Jewish, Catholic, Protestant, Mormon, So it's like they did it together. So in a way, it's like I guess there was like unwritten laws. Like there was laws that sure that needed to be written, absolutely, 100%. But there was like unwritten laws. I mean, also as well, though. You know what I mean, though. You come on, you. I don't know. It's
Of
just
course.
whatever the fuck. I that's as strange as it sounds. Sack, I know you got a helicopter to catch. I know we botched the shit out of this episode, but it's okay. This is the beginning. I don't know if this is gonna be episode 74 or this is episode one again. We got a lot of work to do, but it's the motherfucking Lobo show. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Heap Sack. He's got a helicopter to catch. Wave to him. There he is. So this is the Lobo show. We're back. I don't like I said, man, it's gonna be hard to sell him on this one though, Sack, but don't worry though. I feel like I'm getting warmed up now, pal. You feel what I'm saying?
Yep.
You know what
It's
I'm
the
saying?
second half of the fight.
Yeah,
Now
second half of the fight. Second half of the fight, you know? It's like, don't worry about it. But it's like, we're not gonna. We got to get back. We're still like me and Sega are very unaware of what's gonna happen. We don't even know if this episode will be available in the next 12 hours because they've been fucking, fucking
They've been
bullshitting
on
us.
us.
Well. Yeah, they've been on us
Yes.
or onto us, however you want to phrase that, if you will. But what the fuck you gonna do? You know what? I hear this fucking Uber. You can recently over here, like I said, we've been out right. They had the Uber driver, the driverless car, right? So this fucking car, and I remember I talked about this. And this was the best. I go, oh, this fucking Uber car. You know why it's the best? I'm like, you can fucking drive from New York to Vegas. All you gotta do is play cards with your buddies. You're drinking, you're getting hammered. And let me tell you something. When the cop pulls you over, if a cop pulls you over, it ain't your fault. Like I'm not the one driving. You know what I mean? So what are they gonna give you a DWI? Forget about it. You know what I'm talking about? So right, so what the fuck you gonna do, right? So you're good. I thought this was the greatest invention of all time. But guess what? Guess what? Of course, people are gonna rain on the parade, and I knew this was gonna happen, man. I knew this was gonna happen. I knew sooner or later they're gonna they were gonna stop the fun because the creativity of this was going to go far. Now, I said this before. I mentioned before about the Google glasses, about like how, you know what, dude, that could have been great. But then, critics or whatever, and I'll agree that they didn't perfect the technology. I'll agree to that, right? But but I was like, they dropped the ball on that. For them to discontinue that, like, oh, we don't have any future of them trying to do that at all anymore. I think it's complete bullshit. I think it's because they were totally onto something. And I've always felt those Google Glass was the shit, especially on some spy shit. Like I said, though, it could have been used in so many different ways. You know what I mean? In good ways and so bad, right? But they claim that they didn't perfect it, which we all know is complete bullshit. Now, here we are with this revelation, with this great idea of this self-driving car that literally never make any mistakes. It went through thousands of tests before they actually put it out in the public, right? Thousands of tests. I mean, it was certified. It was ready to go. It was considered more safer than a human car, right? So that's where we were thought. Uber comes out, they got this self-driving car. They try it out, one of these places over there in Mexico, I guess, and some person dies, right? Everybody hears in the news. They go, oh, shit.
I believe it was in Arizona, right?
Arizona, correct, right. Yeah, to be technical, correct. So and they go, so this person dies. That's the first headline you hear. You hear, and what a headline. What a headline, by the way. Self-driving car kills human being. First ever. Holy shit! You think about it. Holy shit!
Yeah, crazy.
Like out of a movie. You're absolutely right.
Like Christine. I mean, I hate to say it, but shit.
To be honest, it was like Christine. I thought about that. Christine, fuck that. Great movie, Stephen King original. And I was gonna say, was there a remake? And there probably is a remake. I hope there isn't a remake of Christine
by now. Oh yeah, I'm sure.
And I hope there isn't. But if there is, don't watch the remake. Watch the original. Stephen King was great. Just added Christine, right? Wow, self-driving car kills it. What a headline, right? And so now you would think logically, right? As are us, these superior human beings, right? We're so great. We're so like high and mighty. We're so smarter than everybody. We're gonna go, you know what? we're gonna ban this shit, right? And we're gonna just like the Google glasses. You know what? This generation is not ready for it. We're gonna put it in the closet and save it for the next generation, right? Fuck that. Yes, here you go. Lobo is warmed up now. I am ready to go. I say, fuck that. You know why? Bullshit. Now, let's read the details. This person was a homeless person, right? And now, by the way, because today, this is like, what, a week ago this happened? When this killing? Probably 2 weeks ago, maybe. And about a couple of, 14 days later, if you will, now Uber has settled with the family. Now the person was homeless, right? Now this is what I hate about this shit, right? That homeless person died. The family didn't want nothing to do with him when he was homeless. That's why he's homeless. They didn't want nothing to do with him. He had no place to live. But now they're settling his fucking money for Uber, and he's dead by now, and they're reaping the benefits. How awesome is that? How amazing is that? That's the best, right? That's the best in the world, right? So now this guy's driving. So now this guy. So now he's banning. Now they banned the Uber driving thing. That's you're not going to see that for a long time. So forget about the whole fantasy of driving from New York to Las Vegas, playing with poker with your buddies, all the way there, drinking and smoking some bud. Right? Forget about that. That's not happening because now. This happened, right? But I call bullshit because I live in New York. And if you live in New York, man, and if you ever drove to the city, which I don't like to do, I prefer public transportation. Listen, when I'm off at 5 o'clock, right, in the city, and it's literally 5 o'clock drive, I'd rather be jammed in the subway and I know I'll be home in an hour as opposed to driving in traffic, trying to get somebody 45 minutes away and be there for 3 hours. So logically, public transportation makes sense over here. Right? But if you drove a car in Manhattan, if you ever drove, you know that these homeless guys constantly jump in front of cars all the time. That's what they do. That's what they do. Now, here's the thing. I bet you the Uber, they fucking really nailed the Uber, that fucking shit. The car that's better than a human driver, if you will. And I'm trying to tell people, well, I'm not sold on AI and technology. I'm not there yet. I'm not there and shit, right? I say, hey, fuck that. Fuck that. We should co-sign on this technology and stop shunning it away. A robot, it's a great idea. Butlers, come on. You make a robot butlers? That's awesome.
They had them
Maids?
in the Jetsons.
Sure. Every servant in the Jetsons was a robot. Look at Star Wars, right?
Yeah,
the droids, every robot, droids are some kind of, they're working. There's not just a droid just sitting around, just with his feet up. Like I'm not, I'm just enjoying the scenery. Like no, you were built. You were built for something. That's the purpose of a robot. You're built for something. Like hey, you're gonna do something. So you do something that's gonna help the human being. So the idea of them banning this whole self-driving situation right off the bat, going, oh, we're not ready for it after thousands of tests, hundreds, if not thousands of tests they did before they unveiled this in the public. Because they'll make you believe, the media go, oh, well, wait, they just put this thing on the street. They were just kind of like experimenting and somebody died. Fuck off. And fuck that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They got the drones. These drones, sometimes they get in a tree or whatever. It's because of the driver.
They're illegal in some parts of America. I know that, right? They're pretty touchy.
I'm not 100% about that.
Like they got a rule where you can shoot them down or something. I don't know.
No, there's a rule that you can't shoot them down, though.
Oh, really? Oh, damn.
Excuse me, man. I can't find my cough button. No, basically, no. There's a thing where apparently, like technically, you can't shoot drones down at all because they're flying crafts, and you can't shoot a flying craft down, and that's illegal in the United States. So technically, you can't tamper.
Well, I heard
with
in
the drone.
California, if a drone comes on your property, you're allowed to shoot it down or something.
Then again, when it comes down to that, your own that shit, I don't know, but I know that's one of those considered flying craft now. Apparently, And this is like a story I didn't want to go to, but it's like a key, that Keystone thing over there, and like I think it's like a Wyoming, I believe, what the Indians are fighting right now, where they're trying to put a pipeline through their quote unquote
Oh, the
sacred grounds.
Yellowstone, I think.
Yeah, right.
Or yeah,
Not the Yellowstone, no, not the Yellowstone, man. It's like the
no.
Keystone pipe. It's some kind of pipe that they're trying to
Oh,
build. Yeah, like an oil pipe and you guys go through an Indian reservation, and the Indian people are really fucking
and they
pissed
don't
off
want
about
that.
this. Now here's the thing. Now it was here's the thing, to break it down briefly. It was like Obama co-signed it, right? And they had to put this big pipe, and then there are literally a lot of Indian people that protest, like to a point. All the Indian people got together. They're completely protesting this whole thing, right? And then it gave Obama so much heat because at first he was like, well, let's see what happens. He's out, it will settle itself. He did like one of those lines where there's a lot of people getting hurt, and the government was doing a lot of shitty things, like putting people, like drenching them with ice water, and it was like the middle of the winter. It was like 10 degrees outside, and like all these kind of inhumane kind of shit. You know what I mean? Because they wanted the protesters to get out, but this is what their land. This is land that they were promised to. Like literally, like technically we can't touch their land right to this day. So Obama was like, all right. After a while, he goes, fuck it. Don't do it anymore. All right, stop it. Right, you like clean energy, because this was like some oil and all that shit, and he kind of stopped those. People were happy, but Trump gets elected. Now Trump is like, nah, fuck that, we're doing that again. You know what I mean? Exactly. So he's like, we're doing that again and shit. So it kind of goes down to that what you were just saying earlier and shit, man. Because Trump is, his reasoning is, obviously he's a oil and coal guy, just like all the conservative Republicans, if you will, but I don't know how the fuck that's going to play out.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It is very much so. And Zach, you got any last words before we wrap this thing up?
Well, yesterday Arnold Schwarzenegger had heart surgery, emergency open heart surgery. I just want to throw that out there. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he made it, and
Arnold, man, really?
Yep. I mean, it wasn't the first time he's had heart surgery. The first time was in 1997, but this was emergency heart surgery. So, and then I heard it lasted several hours.
No shit. Fucking look at that shit. Yeah, no doubt. Arnie, I hope fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger's are right, but you know what? A lot of people fucking hate that prick, A lot of people.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, he was a politician, and he was the governor of California. He executed like a lot of people and shit. He's kind of an asshole. Yeah. Well,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, he's also, there was this guy by the name of Tookie Williams, and he was like gang.
Tookie Williams, that was a Crip.
Yeah, he was a Crip. Yeah, he was a Crip, right? Here's the thing, he was a big guy. In terms of like the LA scene, South Central and shit, he was the leader of the Crips. I don't know if he claimed leader, you know how that goes and shit. Like, they don't want to, like, that would probably
I think he had a high rank though. He was up there. Yeah,
he had a high rank, and but here's the thing. This is an interesting story about the guy. Like, he did something, but he repented the whole thing, and he did more to help kids, even though he was still in jail or whatever the hell. But he did a lot, and it was really like he didn't want to die. He felt like he can do a lot more, and fucking. Under Schwarzenegger's watch, he still executed them. Like that was one of just many people. Like, Schwarzenegger under his belt had a lot of death penalty deaths. You know what I mean? If you will.
So he confirmed that kill. So
correct.
He was the one that could have pulled the plug.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Correct. Yeah. A lot of people are bitching about that, and a lot of other fucking things under his watch. You know what I mean? But no,
crazy.
But that being said, you know what I mean? Hopefully he fucking pulls out of this fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Lobo Show. We appreciate you guys listening. Hopefully you'll be listening to us down the road. We're just back. We're a little rusty. It's gonna get better. It's the Lobo Show. Expect the unexpected, if you will. We're gonna get back to naming names and doing what we had to do. Right, Zach?
Yes, sir.
And like I said, I can't stress this enough. Follow us at the Lobo Show. For now, check out this channel where it's available. And the second episode, I promise you, we will be more detailed of where you can find us, wherever you're listening to this, whether it be YouTube, SoundCloud, or wherever. So we do appreciate it. Happy Good Friday. Have a good Easter, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? and all that. We will, like I said, man, we're gonna try our best to we will be around. It just depends how you're gonna hear us, you know. For the Lobo, for Heave Sack, for the guys upstairs, we say good night and good evening.
It's not for me to say you love